So now I'm going to recognize Mr. Norman for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Cheryl, and I want to thank each of the panelists for taking your time to come. Mr. Gomez, do you agree that any legislative action requiring Federal Advisory Committee should require the membership of the Advisory Committee to be fairly balanced in terms of the points of views represented and the functions to be performed by the Advisory Committee?
So generally, sir, the charters for each committee spell out, the composition, the membership. Sometimes Congress may actually dictate, whether folks should come from a particular interest. So what we did is we looked at, for each committee, what was the charter stating, also what are any directives or legislative direction. And most of the committees do have that charge of bringing balance and to the committee membership. Now, in a lot of the committees that we looked at, there isn't really a percentage that says X number should be this and Y number should be that. It is really left up to the staff at EPA to decide what is it that the committee needs or what is it that the office needs, and they usually try to get that into the advisory committees.
So the answer would be yes. You think the views should be represented to represent the whole committee?
That's usually what's spelled out in the charter for each of the committees,
okay.
Yes, that there should be balanced representation, however that's defined.
All right, I'm sure you know this, but there's a direct quote from Public Law 92-463, better known as the Federal Advisory Committee Act, FACA. With your answer in mind, do you think that if one stakeholder group make up over 80% of a single advisory committee, that would be fairly unbalanced?
So again, in our audit, we were looking at what process EPA has in place and whether EPA followed its process. Our audit wasn't looking at whether the representation or the composition of the committee was balanced or unbalanced. So we don't have an opinion about what the balance should be. Our audit was a process audit to look at, hey, does EPA have a process in place? What is it? And did they adhere to that process?
So, yes or no?
Well, we don't have an opinion on that, sir.
Okay. According to your report, at one point in 2010, academics made up 80% of the Science Advisory Board. I don't have anything against academics, but if that 82% of members were from industry, I think we'd all point to a pretty big problem. So help me understand. I know academics are world leaders in the field, but wouldn't it be beneficial to have different perspectives, at least more than 18% of membership from consultants and non-government organizations?
Again, we don't have an opinion on what the makeup of the committee should be. That's something that comes from EPA in determining what is it that they need, representation, and if there's any direction, either legislative direction or direction from the charters.
Okay, I get that you don't have an opinion on it, but wouldn't it make sense to have different perspectives from these other groups other than academia?
Oh, I think so. I think that's what a lot of the committees call for. They want independent scientific advice from a variety of viewpoints, yes.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, Mr. Gomez, this GAO report was made public yesterday at 1:35 p.m., just barely over 24 hours before the gavel today. As far as I'm aware, none of the minority members on this committee were offered a chance to review a draft copy, but the majority was able to send out a summary of the full report just 3 minutes later. Did you provide the majority with a draft copy of this report before the hearing?
We did not, sir.
Then how else could have the majority obtained a copy of this report?
So I think that the majority maybe can speak where they obtained the copy of the report. So the report was for Senate staff, Senate requesters, and so whoever requests the report can give it to whoever they decide. So.
But you didn't provide it.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. I yield back.